Welcome back. So I've had Vocoflex for a while now, and I've been doing my best to try and get the most out of it. And I've discovered a few things along the way, so I thought I'd share them. I'm going to start with a little verse from an AI tune.
It's getting hard to breathe. The weight of the noise. Every channel, every feed. Can't tell the signal from the static. I gotta get out of here.
As usual, when you use the AI, like stem separations,
It's getting hard to breathe.
you hear there's artifacts, there's little, sometimes thumps like from another instrument, or you get your reverbs and all that kind of stuff. So if you're just going to use Vocoflex straight onto it, it often doesn't like it. So I've got a voice here. Actually, it's my voice. Yeah, I did a Vocoflex of me. Doesn't sound like me at all, but it sounds different. Okay, I'll just play it a little bit at the beginning here. So here's the original.
It's getting hard to breathe.
And then this is the Vocoflex.
It's getting hard to breathe.
So the first thing you notice is mine's a lot more present, and it's really important when you're creating a Vocoflex voice that you have the sound that you want, i.e. don't just use, an un-EQ'd voice, because if it's dull, it's going to sound dull when Vocoflex creates its shape, whatever it is, that weird shape. I think it's an array of filters like a vocoder, but it's just a lot more clever and more accurate, and it's built from what it listens to of your voice. So if you've hyped it like mine is right now, it sounds hyped when you use the actual plugin.
It's getting hard to breathe.
The main observation, of course, is that the better the voice you put into Vocoflex, the better the result's going to be. And because of that, I've come up with a couple of little tricks that I do, which I'll get into at the end of this video. And I don't mean the very end, I mean the second part, if you like, because it's kind of real nerd stuff. You have to be dedicated to do it. So we'll see if everybody hangs around for that. Okay, I've actually got a little quick demo here of a second version I did of my same voice using the same samples, and just see if you can hear the difference.
The weight of the noise. The weight of the noise. The weight of the noise. The weight of the noise.
So I think the second one is basically a little cleaner. So listen to how he says the weight. It sounds a little gravelly, like the weight.
The weight of the noise.
Which is a common kind of artifact that I noticed with the Vocoflex.
The weight of the noise.
Okay, so that's what I'm going to show you later. In the meantime, I had a few suggestions in the comments about checking out the voice AI, so I did. After demoing it for about 30 minutes, I just went and handed my money over. Anyway, so I did the same thing here. I've got Henry singing.
The weight of the noise.
As it turns out, it's actually quite a good thing to be using when you want to rebuild, say, these AI-generated tunes. If you're going to put your own instruments down and new vocals and everything. Sound ID Voice AI, highly recommended. Okay, so let's go back to Vocoflex. Here's the weird thing. Vocoflex is not redundant because you're completely dependent on the libraries of Voice ID, which you also have to pay for over time. The thing that's great about Vocoflex is I can take 4 voices and blend them together to create a new voice. It may not be the best voice ever, but it will be unique. And unique is always good, always good. Let's just compare a little chunk. And since this has got the most words going on here, we'll drop this bit in. So I'm going to basically cycle through the versions that I have. And where I get to is basically this. I've got the original AI voice, then I've got me, Vocoflex, me with this second version of Vocoflex. I then have Voice AI, and then I repeat everything And this time I've included a Synthesizer V recreation of the original AI voice. And let's just spin it while we're here.
Every feed can tell the signal from the static.
And then I reapplied the Vocoflex 2 versions and the voice AI as well. So I've got 8 versions after the original AI. And so the idea, of course, is that as soon as you extract an AI voice, if they've layered them, like, multiple voices, especially the choruses or whatever, none of these things work out of the box. You literally have to do something. So you either re-sing it and then maybe process with Vocoflex or voice AI, or you use Synthesizer V, which I find is actually probably the easiest thing to do because it gives you quite a clean vocal, which you have full control of. You can use it with Vocoflex or voice AI because you're giving it a nice clean input. You get a nice clean result. So let's listen to this one line. I'll put the music back on because it's always nice to hear things in context.
Every feed can tell the signal from the static. Every feed can tell the signal from the static. Every feed can tell the signal from the static. Every feed can tell the signal from the static.
Every feed can tell the signal from the static.
Every feed can tell the signal from the static. Every feed can tell the signal from the static. Every feed can tell the signal from the static.
All of them are quite good. I mean, generally speaking, I never plan to use Vocoflex for lead vocals, but with this DNZ or denoise is what that's short for, it's getting closer, So if I start with this, let's just solo these. So if I start with the AI vocal, and then I'll do the DNZ version of Vocoflex, and then I'll do the DNZ version of the Synth V recreation. I'll just do those 3 and see how they get on.
Every feed can tell the signal from the static. Every feed can tell the signal from the static. Every feed can tell the signal from the static.
My impression is that the Synth V recreation with the Vocoflex and the denoised version is actually quite good in the end. So that, these last 2, the Sound ID AI voice and the Vocoflex on top of Synth V Liam voice are probably the 2 best sounding ones. So again, I'll start with the AI one, and you hear there's a serious artifact near the end there. So that affects the other versions in here. So we'll just skip down to these.
Every feed can tell the signal from the static. Every feed can tell the signal from the static. Every feed can tell the signal from the static.
So a couple of things I've observed along the way with Vocoflex especially. If you run the same thing more than once, say you were to bounce them down several times, they're different every time, even if you haven't changed anything. So the filter is very much live. It literally, however you hit it, it will change from take to take. So that's something to be aware of, because definitely Sound ID does not do that, because it's a render. It's basically once it's rendered, once you processed it, it'll stay like that. Whereas the Vocoflex one, sometimes you'll be just a little more kind of gravel on the sound, and then the next time it's a little cleaner. The other thing I wanted to show you before we get into the deep zone is this section up here where it sings noise and it sort of falls down.
The weight of the noise.
Yeah, you're not getting enough oi in that noise. It's noise. It's almost nose. So here's the original.
The weight of the noise. The weight of the noise.
If you think about it, the way to maybe help it is to put an EQ before the Vocoflex. So as it's playing, I'm going to look for
the weight of the noise.
It's probably in this range, and that's the highest peak there, which is coincidentally why I've already got a node here. And if I was to take that and boost the gain,
the weight of the noise, the weight of the noise.
Thing to do is to automate it, which I'd done earlier. So I just throw that on.
The weight of the noise, the weight of the noise, the weight of the noise, the weight of the noise.
So it's not a huge improvement, but it's definitely a little better. So looking at the
weight of the noise,
the spectrogram, it's very likely that there's a boost here, maybe a boost here would help because it would give more resonance to the sound, which is what's missing. It sounds like it's been oversoothed, but the boost in automation definitely helps. Again, you have to be really determined to get a perfect performance to go to this length, but that's nothing compared to what I'm about to show you. So let's get on with that. Again, I'm going to compare the original Vocoflex that I made, which is this one here, with the second one, which is here. They're pretty similar shape because it is the same voice. How these shapes are derived, I don't know. There are no clues whatsoever. But they definitely go from the dullest part of your sample is at one end and the bright part at the other, regardless. How do we get this, what I call the denoised version? Well, you have to follow me into the deep, dark mysteries of Spectral Layers for that. So here we are, deep into nerd territory with Spectral Layers, which is like Photoshop for sound. So first thing you may notice is that I've got a lot of noise here, and it's background noise. So I'm going to just get rid of that. So I basically use the denoise. Okay, let's do the whole thing. I'm showing you this little chunk that I've prepared, but imagine I've gone through my whole song and chosen all the kind of vocal bits. So obviously someone singing a verse and a chorus, they don't necessarily sing it at the same pitch and the same intensity, etc. So the idea is that you kind of go through and select the best bits, but I'm just going to use what I've got here as an example. So if you go to here, this is the 10-second mark, so 10 or 12 seconds. So really I want to condense this. And so I find it really fast on here because I can just select that. And with shortcut keys, I can just keep moving everything together. But you could do this just about on any kind of DAW, whatever. Cut it up. This way I'm going to condense 23 seconds of sound into basically 10 seconds-ish. So now all my vocal chunks are all in one little zone. So the big revelation is this. The thing that I noticed with Vocoflex is that you get the worst kind of noise when the singer that you're adding Vocoflex to has got rasp in their voice, and the voice you're putting on top has got rasp in it. So between the two of them, it kind of gets doubled up and just made into this horrible, it's like intermodulation distortion. It really is unpleasant sound. And it's really annoying because what happens is you're listening to your Vocoflex performance and it's all good except for a few areas, and it's usually that sound. So I thought, well, noise is the problem. What if I was to clean up the original recording? And so that was the first reason I denoised it. But then what I can do, and this is a Spectral Layers thing, is I can actually go in and unmix the components. So I just hit apply there. And what it does is it separates it into tonal, transient, and noise. So if I solo the tonals.
It's getting hard to breathe.
And the transients.
It's getting hard to breathe.
it doesn't sound right because there's no noise, because noise is part of your voice, right? Well, the noise on its own. Okay. The idea here is we just want to reduce it. We don't want to get rid of it. So I'm going to try and say -6.
It's getting hard to breathe. The weight of the noise.
9.6 is probably good. We don't want to get rid of it altogether because what'll happen is, here, I'll just play a little bit.
Every channel, every feed.
You hear all the real digital artifacty stuff because obviously you've separated, the noise from the tonal from the transients, and you're going to have artifacts all over the shop. How it looks is how it sounds, basically. That's a good rule of thumb. And that looks like a right mess. So if I just look at the noise, it is pretty brutal. But I find that -6 to -9, depending on the voice, is the way to do it. And so what? I'm going to do -9 in the end now. So then I just merge these up. And I rename it. This is Mark Denoised. Okay. And then I export that. And what I'm giving Vocoflex is a 15-second chunk of all the kind of range that I needed to from this song, a good sample of the voice, and noise reduced. And I don't mean just like background noise, I mean actually noise from the voice. The result is you get a slightly cleaner Vocoflex patch to work with. And so when you put it on a raspy voice, you're not adding extra rasp on top of it. Let's just have one last look at that back in Cubase. Let's start by duplicating this track. And I'll put that up there and I'll change the color a little bit. Let's go with gold. Okay. And I will open Vocoflex and reset it. And then I'll just go and retrieve the one I just created, which was Mark Denoised. There you go, that familiar shape, but different from the others. Okay, let's have a listen to it.
Ever see grab the signal from the static?
Okay, so this is applied to the original sample, which is here. So I'll play them one after each other. And I've got reverb on it. Let's be fair, right?
Every feed can't tell the signal from the static. Every feed can tell the signal from the static.
Okay, so if you notice on the original AI extracted voice, at the end here is like 2 voices and a lot of extra breath on one.
On the static.
There's a little synth beat in the end, but there's like, static. There's static on the static.
The static.
Okay. So that is not a serious glitch, but because there's a lot more later, trust me, especially when the doubling vocals come in. So let's compare my non-denoised vocal flex, so i.e. just the chunks put together in that little 15-second clip. It sounds like this.
Every feed can tell the signal from the static.
And it's okay, actually. It got through that. Let's try that. Let's try that against the new one I just put in.
Every feed can tell the signal from the static. Every feed can tell the signal from the static.
So you can tell it's just a little bit cleaner. It actually sounds a little bit dull as well, which is not surprising because I did -9 of the noise as opposed to -6. So let's check the -6 one, which is here.
Every feed can tell the signal from the static. Every feed can tell the signal from the static. Every feed can tell the signal from the static.
Okay, so you can see you don't want to overdo the denoising because that's a big part of the sound of your vocal. So -6 is probably the most I would do after saying -9. There you go. But again, if it's like a real Rod Stewart voice, you might have to do a little more. Okay, not that you would sample Rod Stewart's voice. Okay, since we're here and since I've done it, let's have a listen to the Voice ID version, because I haven't played the whole clip on that one. And like I said, I'm kind of impressed with it. So if you're curious, this is how it worked out.
It's getting hard to breathe. The weight of the noise, every channel, every feed, can't tell the signal from the static. Gotta get out of here.
Well, I hope you found that interesting, if not useful, and I'll see you soon.
Gotta get out of here.